I wrote a piece, well, first of all, I tweeted something on Twitter about maybe 10 days ago. And I talked about how outrageous it is that Tom Sowell, the great economist, has not been awarded a Presidential Medal of Freedom. So I wrote a piece, and it generated quite a bit of responses. You know, that economist Tom Sowell and the late Walter Williams have not received the Presidential Medal of Freedom borders on scandalous. The award, as well as the Congressional Gold Medal, which my dad posthumously received as a Montford Point Marine, is the highest civilian award of the United States. It recognizes people who've made, and I'm quoting them, an especially meritorious contribution to the national security or national interests of the United States or world peace, or cultural or other significant public or private endeavors, end of quote. I mean, even calling these two intellectual giants, Thomas Sowell and Walter Williams, economists, frankly trivializes their contributions. As for Sowell, who's now 94 years young and wrote a book just 2 years ago, playwright David Mamet called him our greatest contemporary philosopher. And Mamet credits Sowell with helping him overcome being what Mamet called a brain-dead liberal. For decades, both Sowell and Williams wrote extremely popular weekly nationally syndicated columns in addition to their books. On Sowell's 92nd birthday, University of Michigan economist and American enterprise scholar, his name is Mark J. Perry, he wrote, and I'm quoting, "There is no economist alive today who has done more to eloquently, articulately, and persuasively advance the principles of economic freedom, limited government, individual liberty, and a free society than Thomas Sowell." In terms of both the quantity of his work, 49 books and several thousand newspaper columns, and the consistently excellent and crystal clear quality of his writing, close quote. When Walter Williams died in 2020 at the age 84, Young American Foundation then President Ron Robinson said, and I'm quoting Robinson, "We are grateful for the life and legacy of Dr. Walter Williams, who generously gave his time and wisdom to students to ensure freedom. Dr. Williams was a faithful successor to Adam Smith. He built on Smith's scholarship and made it fresh for new audiences. YAF audiences were blessed to learn from Dr. Williams these past 50 years. His passing is a loss to everyone who cherishes individual freedom," end of quote. Williams, by the way, was raised in a Philadelphia housing project by a single mom. He served in the Army, got a master's and a PhD in economics at UCLA. In addition to writing more than a dozen books, including the inspirational autobiography Up from the Projects, he was the subject of a documentary called Suffer No Fools. As chairman of the economics department of George Mason University, Williams became the first black chair of the economics department of a non-black college or university. Wall Street Journal columnist Jason Riley wrote a book about Thomas Sowell called Maverick, a biography of Thomas Sowell. And Riley said this, and I'm quoting him, "Mr. Sowell is no stranger to poverty, prejudice, or discrimination. He was born in segregated North Carolina in 1930, orphaned as a toddler, and raised in Harlem from the age of 9. He never finished high school, earned his GED after serving a stint in the Marines during the Korean War. The GI Bill enabled him to enroll in college, first at a historically black college, Howard University, before moving on to Harvard, Columbia, and finally the University of Chicago," end of quote. Some of Sowell's quotes, quote, "It's hard to imagine a more stupid or more dangerous way of making decisions than by putting those decisions in the hands of people who pay no price for being wrong," end of quote. Sowell also said this, quote, "The first lesson of economics is scarcity. There's never enough of anything to fully satisfy all those who want it. The first lesson of politics is to disregard the first lesson of economics," end of quote. Sowell also said this, "Socialism in general has a record of failure so blatant that only an intellectual could ignore or evade it," end of quote. And some of Walter Williams' quotes include, "Let me offer you my definition of social justice. I keep what I earn, you keep what you earn. Do you disagree? Well, then tell me how much of what I earn belongs to you and why," end of quote. Williams also said this, "How does something immoral, when done privately, become moral when it's done collectively. Slavery was legal. Apartheid is legal. Stalinist, Nazi, and Maoist purges were legal. Clearly, the fact of legality does not justify these crimes. Legality alone cannot be the talisman of moral people. End of quote. I don't know if you knew this, but Sowell and Williams were best friends and intellectual soulmates. I was blessed to have known them both for over 30 years. Over lunch one time, I watched them playfully rib each other. When Williams reached for the check, Sowell said, "There you go again, publicly flaunting your wealth." President Trump, please award Thomas Sowell and Walter Williams the Presidential Medal of Freedom. It's long overdue. So I put stuff like that in my tweet. And this morning, I go to my email and I receive this. "Hello, folks. We invite our organization to sign the attached coalition letter calling on President Trump to award the legendary Thomas Sowell the Presidential Medal of Freedom." And has a space where you can sign it and send it. I also saw an article where Senator Ted Cruz said Larry Elder has suggested that President Trump award the Presidential Medal of Freedom to Thomas Sowell. And Larry is right. I'm going to contact the president and make sure I can get this going. So I have a suspicion that in short order, President Trump will be awarding the Presidential Medal of Freedom to Tom Sowell, who's still with us at 94 years old, and hopefully will award it posthumously to Walter Williams so that one of his family members can accept it on his behalf. So pretty productive week for the great Eldersky. Thanks for watching these clips from the Larry Elder Show. If you enjoyed this content, be sure to subscribe to my channel and hit the bell icon so you never miss a moment. More thought-provoking discussions are just a click away, so stay tuned, and we'll see you in the next one.